As he looked at the distress beacon flashing on the console of his salvage hauler, Travis Reed wiped the grease off his hands. 3 months late on the rent. He was 2 months behind on paying for his ship's fuel. The beacon was coming from an old research station that was no longer being used and was orbiting a dead moon on the outer rim. The salvage rights were cheap because no one else wanted to do the work. People talked about that station. Not good ones. 5 years ago, people said the crew had disappeared without a trace. No calls for help. No escape pods were launched. Nothing but silence. But Travis had learned a long time ago that rumors didn't pay bills, and when you were desperate, you could make dangerous choices seem like the right thing to do. He typed in the coordinates and felt his stomach drop as the hauler sped off into hyperspace. He had a lot of time to second-guess himself on the 6-hour trip. What kind of idiot goes to a ghost station alone? He told himself that he was the kind of person who was about to lose everything. When he came out of hyperspace, the station looked like an abandoned tomb in the dark. It was bigger than he thought it would be, like a small city. The hull didn't look like it had been in a fight or a disaster. Some areas still had lights on, thanks to backup generators that had somehow kept running for 5 years. Travis led his hauler to the main docking bay. The airlock worked fine when it cycled, which could be a good sign or a bad one. He took his scanner and toolkit, checked his oxygen levels twice, and then went into the station. The first thing that hit him was the silence. Not just quiet but so quiet that his ears hurt. As he walked through the entrance corridor, the sound of his boots on the metal floor echoed. Emergency lights flashed above, making long shadows that looked like they were moving when he wasn't looking at them. The station was spotless. No trash. There are no signs of a fight. There were still coffee mugs on the desks in the crew quarters, half full and covered in dust. There was a drawing by a child taped to one wall, and the tape had turned yellow with time. Someone had made plans to come back. They never did. Following his scanner, Travis went deeper into the building until he reached the main research lab. That's where the useful tools would be. The only sound was his footsteps and the faint hum of the life support system still doing their job for a crew that was no longer there. The door to the main lab opened with a pneumatic hiss that made Travis jump. He walked in and stopped. There was something in the middle of the huge room that didn't belong in any human station. It was very big, almost 8 feet tall, and looked like it was made out of some kind of living crystal. The surface wasn't smooth, it had facets like a gemstone, and every inch of its body was covered in strange alien symbols. The symbols glowed with a faint blue light, like a heartbeat that was slowly fading. Travis had found alien artifacts before while working in salvage, but not like this. The construct looked a little like a humanoid warrior, with broad shoulders and long arms that ended in hands that could probably crush steel. But the way it was made was almost graceful, as if the person who made it cared about more than just how it worked. He walked up slowly and his scanner went crazy with readings. The information made his eyes pop out. He had saved a lot of things in his career, but this was worth more than all of them put together. He could pay off all his debts, get a better ship, and maybe even retire early. But as he got closer, he saw something that made his heart sink. The crystalline chest had cracks in it that showed that the core systems were broken. Very bad damage. This thing was just an expensive paperweight until it got fixed. Travis put down his tools and began to run tests. His hands moved on their own, thanks to years of mechanical training. The readings told a story. This wasn't just an alien statue or piece of art. His scanner said that the crystal body had neural pathways inside it. Systems for processing. Storage for memories. This thing had been alive, at least in the way that aliens think of life. And it had been left behind. Travis knew that feeling all too well. After his parents died, he moved from one foster home to another until he turned 18. No one wanted the angry kid with grease under his nails who was better with machines than people. He learned early on that being left behind was just something that happened, and you either made it through or you didn't. He looked at the broken Guardian and made a choice that wasn't very smart. He took out his portable power unit from his toolkit and began connecting leads to the core systems of the construct. He carefully replaced broken pipes and bypassed burned-out circuits with his hands. "Okay, let's see if we can get you back online," he said, mostly to break the silence. "Don't know why someone left you here, but everyone deserves a second chance, right?" He worked for what felt like hours, getting lost in the rhythm of fixing things he knew well. Change this part. Change the direction of that power flow. Skip over the broken part and hope the backups work. He was doing something delicate and he talked to the Guardian as if it could hear him, explaining what he was doing and why. Lastly, he hooked up the last power relay to the core matrix. The crystalline body started to let energy flow through it, and the alien symbols started to glow more. Travis took a step back and watched as the readings on his scanner went up. The Guardian's eyes suddenly lit up with bright blue light that filled the whole room. Travis fell back, his heart racing in his chest. The huge structure stayed perfectly still, but he could hear systems inside it powering up, like thunder rolling through crystal caves far away. Then it moved. Only a little. Its head turned with a sound like wind chimes, and its burning blue eyes were fixed on Travis. He had just woken something up. Something very old. Something strong. He had no idea if that was the best decision he had ever made or the last mistake he would ever make. Travis's breath caught in his throat as the Guardian's eyes got brighter and brighter, filling the lab with cold blue light that made everything look like it was underwater. Even though his instincts told him to run, his legs wouldn't move. He couldn't move as he watched this huge, crystal-like creature power up for the first time in who knows how long. The Guardian's head moved slowly as it followed Travis with its burning eyes. The crystal vibrated with a sound that Travis could feel in his bones because emergency systems were running through its body. But it didn't attack. It didn't even move toward him. It just stood there looking at him with what seemed like interest. Travis swallowed hard and made himself talk. "Take it easy, big guy. I'm not going to hurt you. I just fixed some of your broken systems." Travis winced when the Guardian's mouth opened a little and let out a sound. It sounded like metal scraping against metal, with static and bits of what might have been a language at one point. It was clear that the vocalization system was broken beyond what Travis could fix with his basic tools. "Okay, your voice box is fried," Travis said as he slowly reached for his tools. "I might have something that can help with that. Just stay calm, okay?" He moved slowly and carefully so that everyone could see him and he didn't seem dangerous. The Guardian's eyes were on him, but it didn't do anything aggressive. Travis found what he was looking for. A salvaged universal translator unit that he had taken from a diplomatic shuttle wreck 6 months ago. He had been saving it to sell, but right now staying alive was more important than making money. "I'm going to put this translator in your vocalization system," Travis said, speaking like he used to when he worked on ships with nervous owners watching over his shoulder. "It will let you talk like a normal person. It might be uncomfortable for a moment, but it will help us talk to each other." The Guardian didn't move as Travis got closer. He could see his own face in the faceted crystal surface up close, but it was warped into a dozen different versions of himself. He opened an access panel near the Guardian's throat and carefully put in the translator unit. His hands were steadier than he thought they would be. As soon as he connected the last wire, the Guardian's systems added the new part. Travis quickly stepped back to give it room. Nothing happened for a long time. Then the Guardian spoke again, and this time the words made sense. "You fix this unit. Explain what the purpose is." The voice was strange. It didn't have any emotion or inflection, like someone reading words they didn't understand. But it made sense, and that's what mattered. Travis let out a breath he didn't know he had been holding. "I'm a mechanic who works on salvage. I found you here broken and I fixed what I could. That's what I do. I fix things. Need more information. This unit is very valuable. The usual thing to do would be to harvest parts for sale. You chose to restore instead of making money. Explain." Travis rubbed the back of his neck and felt suddenly uneasy. "Yeah, well, my scanner showed that you weren't just a machine. You have neural pathways and memory storage, which are all signs that you are alive. And I don't know why, but it just didn't seem right to leave you broken or take you apart for parts. You know that everything deserves a second chance?" The Guardian didn't say anything for a long time, and its systems hummed as they worked on this new information. Its crystalline body caught the light in strange ways, making patterns that changed and moved. "This unit is called Sentinel Kthron," it finally said. "Made by the Valkyrie High Council to be a Guardian-class protector. The main job is to keep the assigned charges completely safe. Other jobs include threat assessment, combat operations, and tactical defense." "So you're like a bodyguard?" Travis asked. "Correct, simplified description. This unit was linked to the Valkyrie High Council. The main goal was to keep them safe from all threats." Travis looked around the lab, which was empty. "So where are they? Your people?" 273 solar cycles ago they evacuated this building. About the same amount of time as a standard year. The enemy fleet was getting closer. The Valkyrie leaders decided that retreat was the only option. This unit was put into emergency stasis to keep its core functions running during the evacuation. "But they never came back for you?" Travis said in a low voice. "No. This unit stayed still. Aware of what's going on around them but unable to move or turn off systems. Not able to do its job of protecting. Not able to stop working. This unit has been in a state of incomplete function for 273 years. Kthron's voice, which sounded fake and unemotional, somehow made it worse. Travis tried to picture being awake for hundreds of years but unable to move or go to sleep. Simply waiting. Always waiting for someone who never came back. Travis said, "That sounds like torture. This unit does not feel pain in its body. But not being able to do its main job while still working puts a lot of stress on the system. Similar to what you might call psychological distress." Travis sat down on a nearby workbench and looked up at the huge Guardian. "They just left you. They didn't even turn you off right." Evacuation took place in an emergency situation. The most important thing was to keep civilians alive. Guardian units are meant to be used up as assets to carry out primary charges. This unit gets why the decision was made. Travis said, "Just because you understand it doesn't mean it's right." Cathron's head tilted a little, which was the first real sign of interest Travis had seen. "Your statement doesn't make sense. If logic is sound, then correctness is proven. Not everything is based on logic. Things can make sense and still be wrong. You were a person, or at least what you think a person is. You deserved better than to be left alone." The Guardian was quiet again, with its systems humming. The blue light in its eyes got a little dimmer, then got brighter. "This unit must establish new bond immediately," Cathron said, and for the first time, it sounded like it was in a hurry. Core systems were never meant to work without being bonded, except in an emergency stasis. Your repairs have brought back the main functions, but without a bond to the designated charge, cascade failure will start in 6 standard hours. "Wait, what?" Travis got up quickly. "You mean you're going to close for good?" "Yes. Guardian units need a purpose to keep the system stable. Without a specific charge to protect, the core matrix will become unstable. This unit will stop working." Travis's chest felt tight. He had just spent hours bringing this thing back to life, and now it was going to die anyway because of how it was programmed? He said, "There has to be another way. Can't you just change the programming or something?" "Not at all. Bond requirement is an important part of Guardian architecture. This unit can only work when it is serving a specific charge. It is not a mistake. It is design." Travis walked back and forth, his mind racing. "Okay, so you need someone to connect with. How does that work? Do they have to be Valkyrie?" "No. The bond function works for all species. This unit can bond with any intelligent being that is willing to take the Guardian Oath. And if you don't connect with someone, you'll die in 6 hours." "That's right." Travis stopped walking around and looked at Cathron. The Guardian's glowing blue eyes looked back at him, waiting. Not asking. Just telling the truth and waiting for Travis to decide. He thought about leaving. About letting this thing happen as it will. He had done what he came to do, fix what was broken. He didn't owe this Guardian anything. But he couldn't stop thinking about how Cathron had been standing alone in this lab for hundreds of years, waiting and knowing. "Left behind. Left behind." Travis said slowly, "What does it mean if you bond with me? This unit would make you Ward Prime. Your main job would be to keep you safe and alive. This unit would protect you from any threat until you die naturally or until the unit is badly damaged. That's a big promise for someone you just met. This unit doesn't need to have an emotional connection to work. Only designation and acceptance." Travis ran his hand through his hair as he thought. It wasn't a lot of time to make a decision that would change your life. But when he looked at Cathron, he knew he had already made his choice when he chose to fix it instead of taking it apart for parts. "Okay," he said. "Let's go for it. What is this bond thing?" Cathron stepped forward, moving with surprising grace for something so big. "Put your hand on the chest of this unit. This unit will start the bond protocol." Travis walked up and put his palm on the cool surface of the crystal. He could feel energy buzzing under his hand. "This unit designates Travis Reed as Ward Prime," Cathron said, and the sound of its voice filled the whole room. "This unit swears to protect you completely from now until the last function ends. The goal of this unit is to keep you alive. This unit's goals are to get rid of your enemies. This unit's main goal is to keep you safe." There was a flash of light between them, and Travis felt something like electricity run up his arm and across his chest. He saw glowing symbols on his skin that looked like the ones on Cathron's body. They faded away under his clothes. When it was over, Cathron stood up straighter, and its voice sounded stronger than it had before. "Bond made. Ward Prime Travis Reed was confirmed. This unit is now fully functional." Travis looked at his chest, where the glowing symbols had just gone under his skin. There was still a faint warmth there, like the energy that had passed between him and Cathron. His heart was racing and he wasn't sure what he'd just said yes to. He looked up at the Guardian and asked, "So that's it? We're connected now?" "Yes. Bond lasts forever unless Ward Prime dies or this unit is completely destroyed. Normal ways can't break the connection. Travis thought about that. Forever. He had just tied himself to an alien warrior who was 8 feet tall for the rest of his life because he couldn't bear the thought of it dying alone. His therapist on the core worlds would have loved that choice. Okay, so what do we do now? Travis asked, trying to keep his voice calm. Kathron's whole attitude had changed. Before, it seemed almost like it wasn't going to happen, like a machine running tests. Now it moved with a clear purpose, its head always looking around and its systems humming at a higher frequency. This unit will now do its main job. Ward Prime security is the most important thing. An immediate assessment shows that the current environment is not ideal. The station has been empty for a long time. Not sure if the structure is sound. Life support systems are running on backup power. Systems for security are down. Suggest leaving right away. Okay, that makes sense, Travis said as he picked up his tools. Let me get a few more things from the lab and then we can go back to my ship. No. Kathron stepped right in front of Travis, stopping him from going further into the lab. Ward Prime won't go into areas that aren't safe. This unit will get the things it needs. Set targets. Travis blinked. Are you really not going to let me walk around? Yes, that's correct. The sensors on this unit can find several weak spots in the surrounding areas. The chance of collapse is low but not zero. Safety comes before efficiency at Ward Prime. Travis said, it's just a storage room. This unit's assessment is still valid. Say what you need and this unit will get it for you. Travis opened his mouth to argue but then he closed it. He was beginning to get what Kathron meant by absolute protection. This wasn't just a bodyguard who walked with him. This was a being whose whole life was now about keeping him alive, and it was going to take that job very seriously. Okay, Travis said with a sigh. There should be some power cells in the storage cabinets on the far wall. And if you see any data cores that are still whole, pick those up too. They're worth a lot of money. For something so big, Kathron moved past him very quickly. Travis watched it leave, still trying to make sense of everything that had happened in the last few hours. He came here to find things he could sell to pay his bills. Instead, he had gotten an old alien guardian who now thought that protecting him was the reason for its existence. Travis got into the station's main computer terminal while Kathron looked through the storage area. He didn't have time to break into the files that were corrupted or locked behind security, but he was able to get some basic logs. What he found made him shiver. The station hadn't been left alone. The logs show that the Valkyrie research team was studying long-range sensors when they saw a fleet coming toward them. Not just any fleet. The Krethix Empire. The name showed up dozens of times in the corrupted files, always with the same notes. The threat level is very high. Evacuate right away. There is no way to negotiate. Travis had heard things about the Krethix. Everyone on the Outer Rim did. Parents used them to scare kids into being good. An empire that didn't take over planets but ate them. The Dominion's vast collective intelligence absorbed the knowledge and culture of entire civilizations that were wiped out. Ward Prime looks upset. State the reason. Travis leaped. Kathron had come back without saying a word, carrying a lot of power cells and data cores like they were nothing. I found records that explain why your people left, Travis said as he turned the monitor so Kathron could see it. They were running away from the Krethix. Yes. The combat logs for this unit backed this up. The Krethix Dominion had set aside Valkyrie land for harvesting. The High Council decided that resistance was useless. Evacuation was the only way to stay alive. And they just left you there to deal with them on your own? This unit was in emergency stasis. The Valkyrie evacuation ships didn't have enough room to carry Guardian units. The choice made sense given the situation. Travis shook his head. You keep saying that but it doesn't make it right. They left you behind to save themselves. Guardian units are meant to be used up. The value of this unit comes from its ability to protect, not from its own worth. That's garbage, Travis said in a sharp voice. You're not disposable. You're a person or at least close to one. You deserved better than to be left here like broken tools. Kathron was quiet for a moment, and its optical sensors dimmed and brightened as it thought about what Travis had said. Ward Prime's point of view is strange. Valkyrie did not think of Guardian units as people. This unit was a piece of property. Property that is worth something but still property. Travis said, well, I'm not Valkyrie. And to me you're not property. I guess you're my partner now. This strange alien partner is way too protective but still. This unit doesn't know what partner means. Please explain. Travis thought about how to say it. A partner is someone you work with on the same level. Someone who has your back and you have theirs. It's the same for both of us. Not one person protecting the other but both people looking out for each other. But the job of this unit is to protect Ward Prime. That is the point. Travis said, yeah, but that doesn't mean I can't try to keep you safe too. Just because you're programmed to keep me safe doesn't mean I can throw you away. Kathron's crystal body hummed with what sounded like confusion. No bonded charge has ever shown concern for the safety of Guardian units. This information does not fit with how this unit is supposed to work. Maybe you need to update your operational parameters, Travis said with a small smile. Let's get out of here before something else goes wrong. Travis pulled up the station sensor logs on his portable scanner as they walked toward the docking bay. He stopped walking when he saw what he saw. Is your long-range sensor system working, Kathron? Yes. Why does Ward Prime want to know? Because these old logs say that the station's automated sensors saw Krethix scout ships in this area about a month ago. Kathron stopped moving completely. Getting into the station's sensor network now. After a while it spoke again and this time its voice was sharp. Warning. About 6 standard hours ago, the station's passive sensors picked up a low-frequency transmission coming from the central lab. This unit's reactivation happens at the same time as transmission. Travis's stomach dropped. The core of the data. The one you took from the lab. I bet it was sending out a beacon. High chance. If Krethix's monitoring equipment picked up a transmission, they would look into it. How long would it take them to get here? Not enough data. But Krethix scout ships usually check out strange signals within 24 to 48 hours of finding them. And we woke you up 6 hours ago, Travis said, his mind racing. That means they could show up at any time in the next day and a half. That's right. It is best to leave the station right away and jump to hyperspace as soon as the Ward Prime ship is ready. They began to move more quickly toward the docking bay. Travis's ship was old and slow, but it could still go fast with its hyperdrive. They would be safe if they could just get away from the station before the Krethix got there. The station's emergency alarms started going off when they were halfway to the docking bay. The hallways were full of red warning lights, and a voice that sounded like it was coming from a machine kept saying the same thing over and over. Warning. A ship that hasn't been identified is coming in quickly. Everyone should go to an evacuation station. This is not a drill. Kathron's weapons systems turned on right away. Energy barriers came to life around its arms, and its optical sensors lit up. Krethix vessel detected. In 4 minutes they should be at the station's edge. Ward Prime, go quickly but be careful. This unit will make sure you get through safely. Travis ran with his toolkit bouncing against his hip. Kathron followed him, moving with an impossible grace for something so big. The Guardians stayed between Travis and every door, corner, and possible threat. Just as something hit the station's outer hull, they burst into the docking bay. The impact made the whole structure shake. Travis's ship was right where he left it, ready to go and docked. Get to the ship. Travis yelled as he ran for the airlock. Another hit, this time closer. Travis could see smooth metal objects cutting through the station's hull through the viewing ports in the docking bay. Drones on board. The Krethix were doing more than just looking into things. They were fighting. Travis hit the emergency release on the airlock of his ship. He dove inside as the door hissed open with Kathron right behind him. The Guardian barely fit through the door because its crystalline shoulders scraped the frame. Close the airlock and get ready to leave in an emergency, Travis yelled as he jumped into the pilot's seat. He could see the first Krethix drones coming out of the holes in the station's hull through the window of the cockpit. They were smooth and bug-like and their dark armor seemed to soak up light. Their weapons were already charging and crackling with blue energy. Travis's hands flew over the controls, starting the process of undocking. Not fast enough. It was going to take too long. Brace for impact, Ward Prime, Kathron said in a calm voice. The first plasma bolt hit the ship's hull right after the docking clamps let go. The plasma bolt burned through the ship's hull plating, leaving a glowing red scar that made Travis's warning systems go off. He slammed the thruster controls forward, and his salvage hauler lurched away from the docking bay like a drunk elephant. Come on, Travis said through gritted teeth as he watched his engine output rise too slowly. His ship was made to carry things, not to fight. Another plasma bolt flew by the cockpit window so close that he could see the afterimage it left behind. Ward Prime, suggest evasive pattern Delta 7, Kathron said from behind him. I don't know what that means. Travis yelled and pulled the control stick hard to the left. The ship groaned in protest but turned, barely avoiding another round of plasma fire. Travis could see more Krethix drones coming out of the station through the rear camera feeds. They moved in a way that was terrifyingly coordinated, like a swarm of mechanical bugs, each one knowing exactly where the others were without talking to them. "Okay, new plan," Travis said as he moved his hands around on the navigation console. "I'm going to hit the hyperdrive as soon as we get out of the station's gravity well. There is no planned course for this jump, but it will get us out of here." Cathron agreed, saying, "Acceptable risk given the current threat level." They could see the station getting smaller in the rearview mirror. Travis gave himself 1 second to hope that they might really make it. Then his alarm for being too close went off like a banshee. He said, "Oh no," in a low voice. The Krethix scout ship appeared out of nowhere right in front of them. It was sleek and sharp like a knife that was made to cut through space. Charging energy was already flowing through the weapon ports on its hull. "They were waiting for us," Travis said, his voice empty. "They knew we would run." Krethix tactical doctrine prioritizes target capture over destruction when possible, Cathron said in a way that made me want to scream. "They want the data core and Ward Prime to stay the same." "That's just great," Travis said, looking for options with all his might. The scout ship was faster than his hauler, had better weapons, and was in the perfect place to block any escape route. "Any good ideas?" "This unit asks for permission to use the ship's weapons systems." Travis laughed and it sounded a little crazy. "What weapons?" "This is a truck that picks up junk. I have one plasma cutter that is mounted on the front and is meant to cut through old hulls, not fight ships. The plasma cutter specifications show that the output is high enough for defensive use. This unit can make targeting protocols better. Do you want to fight a Krethix warship with a fancy welding torch?" "No. This unit wants to make it possible for Ward Prime to get away. Give this unit control of the weapons." Travis had only 3 seconds to decide what to do. His scanners showed that at least a dozen drones were breaking away from the station to chase the scout ship as it moved into firing position. He could try to run away from them and fail, or he could trust the old alien warrior who had promised to keep him safe. "Control of the weapons has been given over," he said, flipping switches on his console. "Don't kill us. This unit will put Ward Prime's survival above everything else." The Krethix scout ship fired, and many plasma cannons shot out bolts that lit up space like a deadly light show. Travis's hands tightened on the controls, and every instinct told him to get out of the way, but Cathron's voice stopped him. "Ward Prime, keep going at the same speed and direction. Have faith in this unit." Travis gritted his teeth and stood still as death came closer in bright streams of superheated plasma. Cathron fired the plasma cutter at the last possible moment. The beam didn't hit the scout ship. Instead, it hit a piece of debris from the station, a piece of hull plating that had come loose during the drone deployment. The metal turned into gas right away, making a cloud of charged particles that the Krethix plasma bolts hit without hurting anyone. Cathron told the crew to do an evasive maneuver now. Travis didn't ask any questions. He made a sharp turn to the right with the ship, using the cloud of debris as cover. The ionized metal would temporarily blind the scout ship's sensors, giving them a few extra seconds. "This unit has looked into what the Krethix vessel can do," Cathron said. "Forward shields are the strongest. Engines are weak but well protected. The best strategy is not to engage but to disrupt." Travis said, "I'm listening," and his hands were steady on the controls. Having a plan, even a crazy one, was better than not having one at all. "Ward Prime will follow a spiral descent pattern toward the station's gravity well. This unit will go after drones that are following it. The debris field will give you cover. When the Krethix scout ship moves to make up for it, Ward Prime will have 3.2 seconds to turn on hyperdrive before they can get weapons lock again." Travis said, "That's a very specific timeline. This unit has done similar tactical scenarios 247 times in different combat situations. There is a 72% chance of success. And what about the other 28%? The Ward Prime vessel is badly damaged, or the calculations for this unit are thrown off by unexpected factors." Travis took a big breath. 72% was a better chance than he usually had in life. "Okay, let's do this. Now starting the spiral descent in 3, 2, 1. He made the ship spin in a controlled way and dove back toward the station at an angle that made his inner ears scream in pain. The fake gravity couldn't quite keep up, and he felt his stomach turn as the ship turned. The Krethix drones followed them like a pack of hunting dogs. They were faster and easier to steer than his hauler, and they were getting closer every second. Travis could see them on his back cameras. They were sleek and deadly, and their weapons were ready for another volley. Cathron fired the plasma cutter in short, controlled bursts instead of the long beam Travis usually used for salvage work. Each burst hit a different drone with perfect accuracy. Travis realized that the Guardian wasn't trying to kill them. It was just messing up their engines, making them spin out of control and crash into each other or into floating debris. Kathron said, "There are 11 drones left. Krethek's scout ship changing course to intercept. Keep going down in a spiral." As they got closer to the station's gravity well, Travis's ship shook. There were bits of debris from the drone attack all over the place, making it hard to get around. He had to constantly change course to avoid hitting something, which pushed his reflexes to their limit. The scout ship fired again, but this time there was no convenient cover. The plasma bolt hit his port engine, and all the alarms on his console went off at once. "Port engine at 40% capacity," Travis said, trying to keep the ship steady. "We won't make the 3-second window if I can't speed up." "Understood." Changing tactical settings. Kathron didn't say anything for exactly 2 seconds. "Another strategy is available. More likely to survive Ward Prime, but higher risk to the integrity of the vessel." "What do I need to do?" "When this unit sends a signal, Ward Prime will turn off all power to the engines and send it to the forward shields. This unit will use a plasma cutter to light the fuel dump from the Ward Prime ship. The explosion will temporarily shut down the sensors and propulsion of the Krethek scout ship. The time it takes to turn on the hyperdrive will go up to 8.7 seconds. That made sense to Travis. "You want me to blow up my own gas and use the explosion to hide?" "That's right. That's totally crazy. Chance of success is 89%. Without this strategy, the chance of survival is 31% and going down." Travis shook his head and laughed again. He had been doing this job for 15 years, and in all that time he had never meant to blow up part of his own ship. But he had never had to deal with an old alien warrior running his plans before. "Okay. Let me know when." They kept going down in a spiral, getting closer to the hull of the station. The scout ship was getting ready to make a killing shot, and the other drones were right behind it. Travis could see the main cannon charging up, getting ready to fire a blast that would go right through his shields. Kathron said, "Ward Prime, dump fuel on this unit's mark." 3, 2, 1. Mark. When Travis hit the emergency fuel purge, his rear camera showed a beautiful trail of fuel streaming out behind them. He cut off all power to his engines, sending it all to the forward shields. For one terrifying moment, they were just drifting, moving forward on their own while death closed in from behind. Then Kathron shot the plasma cutter right into the trail of fuel. The blast made space look like a new star. The shockwave hit Travis's ship and knocked it over, but the forward shield stayed up. The Krethek's drones were all over the place behind them, like leaves in a storm, and the blast made the scout ship's sensors completely useless. Kathron said, 8.7 seconds start now. Recommended to turn on hyperdrive. Travis's hands were already moving as he typed in coordinates on the NAV computer. Any set of coordinates. He just picked a random direction away from here and hoped that there wasn't a star or planet in the way. The hyperdrive started up with a sound like the world was tearing apart. 5 seconds. The scout ship was getting better and its sensors were working again. 6 seconds. Travis could see weapon systems coming back to life. 7 seconds. "Come on," he said softly. 8 seconds. The stars turned into lines, and Travis's salvage hauler disappeared into hyperspace just half a second before the Krethek scout ship's weapons fired into empty space where they had been. Travis sat back in his pilot's chair and let out a breath that felt like he'd been holding it for hours when hyperspace travel suddenly stopped. His hands were shaking now that the rush was gone. "Status of Ward Prime?" Kathron asked. Travis said, "I'm alive. Scared but alive. I once tried to save a ship that was falling into a gas giant, but that was the craziest thing I've ever done. This unit says sorry for the risk to the Ward Prime vessel. There will need to be repairs." "Yeah, no kidding," Travis said as he looked at the reports of damage. The port engine barely worked, the fuel reserves were almost gone, and he had no idea where they would end up when they came out of hyperspace. But they were still alive, and that's all that mattered. The Valkyrie data core sat quietly in his cargo hold, still holding the secrets that the Kretheks wanted so badly that they attacked a station for them. Travis thought that things had just gotten a lot harder for him. 3 days later, Travis's ship came out of hyperspace near Haven's Rest, a frontier trading post that was in a legal gray area where people didn't ask too many questions. His fuel gauge said he was in trouble, his port engine was barely holding together with hope and emergency patches, and he hadn't slept more than a few hours since getting away from the Kretheks. Kathron had stayed standing in the cargo bay the whole time, refusing to turn off even when Travis kept saying they were safe. The Guardian had said, "Ward Prime needs to rest. This unit does not. The best way to stay safe is to stay alert." After the first day, Travis stopped arguing. He had learned that once Kthron thought something was a security risk, it was too late to change its mind. The Guardian took its job of protecting people very seriously, which would have been funny if it weren't so serious. It was scary to dock at Haven's Rest. Travis thought security would stop his ship as soon as he entered their space, but apparently a beat-up salvage hauler with one broken engine wasn't unusual enough to get extra attention. He steered the ship into his rented hangar bay, which was one of the cheaper ones on the station's outer ring. The artificial gravity wasn't quite right, and the air recyclers made strange sounds. As soon as the airlock closed, Travis almost fell out of the pilot's seat. He was tense and had been sitting in one position for too long, so every muscle in his body hurt. He walked to the cargo bay where Kthron stood like a statue, still looking for threats that weren't there. Travis said, "We're here. Safe. You can now relax." This unit's threat assessment shows that there are several possible security holes in the current location. There are about 15,000 people living in the station. No residents have had background checks done on them. Old security systems are no longer useful. It's likely that organized crime is present. It would be tactically unwise to relax. Travis rubbed his face. "I can already tell you're going to be fun to live with." He took the Valkyrie data core out of its safe box and put it on his workbench. It was about the size of his fist and made of the same crystal-like material as Kthron, but it was smoother, almost like polished glass. There were patterns of symbols that hurt his eyes if he looked at them for too long. "Okay, let's see what was worth attacking a station for," Travis said as he plugged the data core into his computer with some adapter cables. He first checked to see if the thing was still sending signals. There was a low-frequency signal coming from the core, but it was so weak that his normal equipment didn't pick it up at all. Travis quickly turned on a signal jammer, which stopped the transmission. "Well, that's not scary at all," he said. "This thing has been sending out our location the whole time." Kthron said, "There is a good chance that Krethix tracked the signal. However, the strength of the signal would have dropped a lot while traveling through hyperspace. Current location should stay safe for about 72 to 96 hours, which is how long it would take Krethix ships to figure out where they are. We have 3 or 4 days before more of them come." "Great. That's great." Travis pulled up a chair and began to work on decrypting the files in the data core. Most of the data was broken, either because it had been around for a long time or because someone had messed with it on purpose. But Travis had learned a lot about alien computers while working as a salvage worker. He began putting together pieces, running recovery programs, and slowly putting back together what was stored inside. What he found made his heart race. The files had research data about the Krethix Dominion that Valkyrie scientists had gathered over many years of watching it. The picture they painted was worse than any scary story Travis had heard in dive bars on the Outer Rim. The Krethix didn't just take over other species. They picked them. Whole groups of people were rounded up and put through machines that took out all of their memories, knowledge, culture, and history before destroying what was left. The Dominion was turning itself into a group mind made up of the stolen memories of 1,000 dead civilizations. "This can't be real," Travis said quietly as he read through report after report. "This is genocide on a scale I can't even begin to understand." "This unit's combat logs prove that Valkyrie research is correct," Kthron said. "The Krethix name means harvester species. They don't care about each person's life. Only knowledge that has been built up." Travis's stomach turned as he went through more files. There were projections that showed which areas the Krethix planned to harvest next. Trade routes that would be blocked. Colonies that would be attacked. The Valkyrie had tried to tell the Galactic Authority about the threat, but they had been told that their warnings were just paranoid thoughts. So they would have run. They traveled across the galaxy, taking their knowledge with them and hoping to keep some of their culture alive before the Krethix caught up. Travis opened another set of corrupted files and said, "There's more here. Something about Krethix weaknesses and how to fight them. But a lot of it is too broken to fix." He spent another hour trying to put the tactical data back together, but the Valkyrie's information on how to stop the Krethix was too broken to be of any use. Just a few hints that there was a way to stop the Dominion's advance somewhere, somehow. "Ward Prime, this unit needs to tell you about a big problem." Travis stopped looking at his screen. "What now?" Before this unit left the research station, core memory banks found a reference to the primary data archive. Before they split up, the Valkyrie High Council moved all of their research to a secure facility. This data core had location coordinates in it. Travis looked at Kthron. "Are you saying this thing has coordinates to some kind of master archive? With all the Valkyrie learned about how to fight the Krethix?" "Yes. That's why Krethix's response was quick and strong. They can't let that information be found again." Do you have access to the coordinates? No. This unit doesn't have the authorization codes it needs to encrypt. But pattern recognition shows that there are coordinates hidden in the corrupted data segments that Ward Prime is trying to put back together right now. Travis looked back at his screen with more urgency. If he could get those coordinates back and find that archive, maybe all of this would be useful. The Valkyrie research might be able to help stop the Krethics from taking over more worlds. He was so focused on the data that he didn't hear the door to his workshop open until a voice he knew made him jump. Travis? Why is your ship's transponder marked in every security database from here to the core worlds? He turned around to see his friend Nicole in the doorway. She had her dark hair pulled back in a ponytail and grease stains on her mechanic's coveralls. With a look of pure shock on her face, she was looking past him at Kthron. The Guardian acted right away, putting up energy barriers between Nicole and Travis. Unidentified person found. Threat assessment is going on now. Stop, Kthron. Travis jumped up and stood where the Guardian could see him. She's a friend. Nicole, this is Kthron. Nicole is not a threat, Kthron. Nicole didn't move. Her eyes were wide as she took in the 8-foot-tall crystal warrior that had just appeared in front of her with energy shields. What the hell did you save, Travis? It's not easy, Travis began to say. Nicole cut in, her voice rising. Your ship shows up with battle damage. You have a war machine from another planet in your workshop. And based on the security alerts I just saw, there has been Krethics activity in 3 nearby sectors for the first time in 50 years. Please tell me what complicated situation you've gotten yourself into this time. Travis was about to say something, but the sound of heavy boots in the hallway outside stopped him. Many sets. Going quickly. The optical sensors on Kthron lit up even more. People with guns are coming. The way the station is set up suggests security. 12 people. Standard crowd control gear and 2 units with restraint field generators. Oh no, Travis said. The boots stopped right outside the door to his workshop. There was a loud knock and then a voice came through a loudspeaker. Travis, read, this is Captain Ellis from the security at Haven's Rest Station. You must give up any and all alien military technology that you don't have permission to have. If you don't follow the rules, you will be detained right away under Galactic Authority emergency protocols. Nicole stared at Travis. Do you want to tell me what you've done? I helped someone who needed it, Travis said in a low voice. And I guess that was enough to make me a wanted man. More than wanted, Nicole said as she pulled out her data pad and showed him the screen. Travis, there is an alert on you that is very important. Having restricted Xenotech, possibly working with hostile forces, and being a possible security threat to civilians. They aren't here to ask questions. They want to take everything, even your new friend. Captain Ellis's voice came again from outside. Reed, you have 60 seconds to do what I say. After that, we're coming in. Kthron turned to the door, which was buzzing with combat systems. This unit will not let Ward Prime leave protective custody. We will take the right steps to protect ourselves if anyone tries to force us to comply. Travis's thoughts were racing. He could give up, but they would take Kthron apart to learn more about it. They would take the data core, and any chance of stopping the Krethics would be gone. He could also run, but then he would be a real fugitive with no way to get home. 30 seconds, Reed. Nicole took hold of his arm. Travis, you have to choose. At this moment, he saw Kthron, who was ready to fight a whole team of security guards to protect him. He looked at the data core on his workbench. It held secrets that could save many lives. He thought about the Valkyrie who had been taken away, their whole civilization wiped out. He also thought about what kind of person he wanted to be when things went wrong. Travis said, I'm not giving up, Kthron. His heart was racing, but his voice was steady. Not to be put in jail or taken apart. The Galactic Authority can send someone to talk if they want to. But I won't give up a person just because they're scared of something they don't get. The optical sensors on Kthron pulsed with light. It changed its stance as if it were looking at Travis in a new way. Nicole looked at him. You know you just called yourself a criminal, right? Yeah, Travis said. I get it. Captain Ellis's countdown reached 0 outside. As station security broke the lock, the workshop door burst open with a hiss of hydraulics. Captain Ellis was the first to step through. He was a middle-aged man with gray hair at his temples and a face that looked like it had been through a lot of problems at a frontier station. A dozen security guards stood behind him in a practiced formation, with riot shields up and stun batons ready. Reed, step away from the structure, Ellis said in a tired voice that showed he had given this order 1,000 times before. Take it easy. No one needs to get hurt here. Travis stayed still. Kthron stood like a wall between him and the security team, and energy barriers sparkled in the air. The Guardians' optical sensors followed each officer with cold accuracy, figuring out how dangerous they were and how to respond. "Captain, you don't get what's going on here," Travis said, keeping his hands in sight but not raising them. "Kthron isn't a weapon I found. It's a living thing. A person." Ellis said, "Station rules don't make that difference. Unknown alien military hardware is put away for Galactic Authority review. That's the rule and it can't be changed." One of the security guards, who was younger than the others and seemed nervous, raised a restraint field generator. The device came to life with a hum and created a containment field to keep unauthorized tech from getting in. As soon as the field hit Kthron's barriers, the Guardians' combat systems switched from passive monitoring to active defense. The energy shields got brighter, and a low harmonic sound filled the workshop like a warning bell. Kthron said, "Any attempt to forcibly separate Ward Prime from Guardian protection will be seen as a lethal threat." Its voice didn't sound calm at all. This was a combat protocol talking now with no room for doubt. "This unit has permission to use any force necessary to protect Ward Prime." The security team got tense. Several officers changed how they held their guns. Travis could see that things were getting worse, and once that happened, people would get hurt. Maybe dead. Nicole stepped forward with her hands up and said, "Everyone just calm down." She stood a little in front of the security team and Travis, making her body language look non-threatening on purpose. "Captain Ellis, I've known Travis for 6 years. He's one of the most trustworthy people on this station. He fixes ships, helps people, and never causes trouble. If he says that thing is alive, maybe we should listen." "Miss Davis, I appreciate your friendship with Reed, but this isn't a character reference situation," Ellis said, though his tone softened a little. "That construct is marked as possibly dangerous alien military technology. I got my orders from high up the chain, and they are clear: secure it by any means necessary." "High up the chain," Travis said again, and something clicked in his mind. "Let me guess. Someone in the Galactic Authority heard about Krethix activity in this area and freaked out. Now they want anything connected to the Krethix to be locked up tight." Before he spoke, Alice's face showed that it was true. "There have been reports. Scout ships. More activity. The Authority is taking it seriously." Travis said, "They should take it seriously. But taking Kthron apart in a lab isn't going to help. The Krethix are destroying whole civilizations, Captain. The Velkari figured out how to stay alive long enough to leave their territory, and that's what the Krethix want to destroy. That's why they attacked the research station where I found Kthron." Ellis said, "That's not my problem," but Travis could hear doubt creeping into his voice. "My job is to keep the station safe, and right now you're a threat to that." The young officer with the restraint field generator moved forward, encouraged by what his captain said. "Sir, should we put in place more containment measures?" Kthron answered right away, changing its position to one that was more aggressive. The crystalline blades that had cut through Krethix drones started to form on its hands, with energy crackling along the edges. Ellis yelled at his team to hold position, and then turned his attention to Travis. "Reed, I don't want this to get ugly, but if that thing attacks my people, we'll kill it. And you'll be charged as an accomplice." Travis felt like the choice was too much for him to bear. He could give up right now. Let them have Kthron. Maybe later you could make your case through the right legal channels. It would be the right thing to do and the safe thing to do. But he had seen people in charge make the safe choice all his life, leaving those who needed help behind. He had been that kid before, going through a system that saw him as a problem to be solved instead of a person who mattered. And he had just spent 3 days with a creature that had been left alone for hundreds of years because its own people didn't think it was worth saving. "No," Travis said softly. The word hung in the air like a gunshot. Ellis raised his eyebrows and said, "No? I'm not giving up Kthron," Travis said, his voice steady and louder now. "Not to be locked up in a cell or cut open by scientists who will treat it like a curiosity instead of a person. If the Galactic Authority wants to look at anything, they can send someone here to talk and negotiate. But Kthron has to agree to this because it has the right to make decisions about its own existence." Kthron's body was made of crystals that pulsed with light, making patterns that flowed across its surface. The Guardian turned its head a little and looked at Travis with its burning blue eyes. It changed the way it stood and held itself in a big way. "Ward Prime is treating this unit as an individual with its own rights," Kthron said. For the first time, there was a sense of wonder in its fake voice. "No bonded charge in this unit's operational history has made such designation. Processing implications." Ellis shook his head. "Reed, you're wrong. If you say that thing has rights, you're saying it's alive. And if it's alive and it attacks my people, That's not a malfunction. That's assault. Maybe murder. Then don't make it happen, Travis shot back. Back off. Let us take our time and figure this out right. I can't do that because I have my orders. Your orders are wrong. The room was so tense that you could cut it with a knife. Security guards were ready, guns loaded. Cathron's weapons systems hummed with barely controlled power. Nicole looked back and forth between Travis and Ellis as if she were watching a disaster happen in slow motion. Then Ellis's phone started to make noise. A voice came through that was urgent and stressed, and the captain's face went pale as he listened. Ellis said into the communicator, "Say that again?" "Confirm that." No matter what the answer was, it made Ellis's grip on his weapon tighter. When he looked at Travis, his face went from angry authority to real fear. Ellis said to the room, "We have a bigger problem. Long-range sensors just picked up a Krethix ship entering the system. It's a Hunter-class warship and is headed straight for Haven's Rest." As that information sank in, the security team's formation wavered. Everyone who lived on the frontier knew what Hunter-class meant. The ships were made to break into stations, steal anything valuable, and then move on. They were hunters, and Haven's Rest was just another meal. Nicole's voice was tight when she asked, "How long until it gets here?" "It's going to take about 90 minutes, maybe less if they push their engines," Ellis said. He looked at Travis, then at Cathron, and Travis could tell that he was changing his mind about everything. "You brought them here." Travis said, "The data core was sending before I blocked the signal. They've been following us. But Captain, this just proves what I'm saying. The Krethix want Cathron dead, captured, or both. They want the information we got back. That should show you how important it is." Ellis rubbed his face, which is what a man does when he sees his simple security problem turn into a nightmare. Station defense systems aren't made for Hunter-class ships. We have civilian shields and basic point defense. We might be able to keep them away for 20 minutes before they break through the hull. "This unit can help with defense," Cathron said. The Guardians' combat plans had changed again. They were no longer just about the security team. Its sensors were already linked to station networks, gathering information about the threat that was coming. Analysis shows that this unit's combat systems can be added to the station's defensive grid. The chance of a successful defense goes up from 12% to 47%. "Not great odds yet," Ellis said under his breath. Nicole said, "Better than 12%. Ellis looked at Travis and then at his security team. It was clear on his face that he was doing the math. He could try to push Cathron to do something and maybe he could hold it back, but then he would have to fight the Krethix with fewer troops and broken equipment. He could also make a tactical choice that went against his orders but might save lives. Ellis said, "If I let your Guardian help defend the station and we make it through this, we'll have a very long talk about what happens next. The Authority will still want answers." "That's fair," Travis said. "But right now let's make sure there is a next." Ellis nodded slowly and then typed something into his communicator. "All units stand down. Go to evacuation support. We have 90 minutes to get civilians to safety before the Krethix show up." Some of the security guards looked relieved, while others looked confused as they put down their weapons. They left the workshop in an orderly way, like people who had practiced disaster drills 100 times. Ellis stopped at the door and looked back at Travis. "I hope you're right about your Guardian, Reed. If you're wrong, a lot of people are going to die." Travis said, "I'm right," even though he didn't feel very sure. Ellis left, and all of a sudden the workshop was quiet except for the sound of alarms going off all over the station. Nicole looked at Travis with a look that showed she was both impressed and scared. "Well, you just became a hero or a war criminal," she said. "Maybe both." Travis looked at Cathron, who was already using the station systems to look at its defenses and possible tactics. The Guardian's attention had completely shifted to the new threat. Its protective measures now included not just Travis but also the 15,000 people on the station who were about to become collateral damage in a fight they didn't understand. Travis asked, "Cathron, can we really stop a Hunter-class ship?" The Guardian stopped looking at the data for exactly 1 second. "Probability is still 47%. However, the main goal is to protect Ward Prime. The best strategy would be to evacuate Ward Prime before Krethix arrives." "I'm not running away while everyone else is in danger," Travis said with determination. "We brought this fight here and we're going to stay to help end it." Another wave of light passed over Cathron's crystal body. Ward Prime always puts the needs of the group ahead of their own safety. This goes against the usual behavior patterns of bonded charges. This unit needs to change how it thinks about Ward Prime's motivations. "Just means I'm stubborn," Travis said with a tired smile. Come on. We have an hour and a half to figure out how to save 15,000 people using a salvage ship's plasma cutter and an old alien warrior. Now it's 87 minutes, Kathron said. Nicole took her toolbox. Then we should get going. The alarms across the station turned Haven's Rest from a busy trading post on the frontier into controlled chaos in just a few minutes. Travis watched through the observation window of his workshop as families rushed to get to emergency shelters, shop owners locked up their stores, and security teams directed traffic through the main corridors with practiced urgency. 87 minutes until the Krethiks got there. They had 87 minutes to get ready for a fight they probably wouldn't win. Nicole was already at her data pad, looking at diagrams of the station's defense systems. Okay, let's see what we've got to work with here. Haven's Rest has 6-point defense turrets, basic deflector shields that stop debris, and hull plating that mostly keeps air inside. We're not a military base, we're a trading station. This unit has connected to the station's defensive coordinator network, Kathron said. The Guardian was in the middle of the workshop, and data streams were flowing across its crystal-clear surface as it connected to the station's computers. Our current defensive capabilities are not enough. Krethik's Hunter-class ships have plasma cannons that can break through station shields in about 8.3 minutes of continuous fire. So we have 8 minutes of safety before they start tearing us apart, Travis said, his stomach dropping. What about getting everyone out? Kathron said, not enough time. Haven's Rest evacuation procedures need at least 4 hours to safely move all staff. The current timeline only lets 32% of civilians leave before Krethiks can attack. Travis did the math in his head and got sick. 10,000 people who wouldn't be able to leave the station on time. 10,000 people who would be stuck here when the Krethiks broke through. His phone rang. Captain Ellis's voice came through, tight with stress. Reed, go to the command center at the station. The defensive coordinator wants to talk to you and your Guardian about possible strategies. Go quickly. Travis grabbed his toolbox out of habit, even though he didn't know how a mechanic's tools could help against a warship. Come on, Kathron. It seems like we're now officially part of the defense plan. They walked through hallways full of people leaving. As they walked by, people looked at Kathron. Some were scared and others were desperate for hope. A little girl, maybe 7 years old, stopped running to see the Guardian walk by. Her mother tried to pull her along, but the girl's voice was clear. Mommy, will that robot save us? For a brief moment, Travis saw Kathron's optical sensors turn toward the child. The Guardian didn't answer, but its posture changed as it walked on. More focused. More resolute. The command center was a cargo bay on the upper level of the station that had been turned into a room with monitoring stations and tactical displays. Beth Carter, the defensive coordinator, was a tall woman who had worked for the Galactic Navy before retiring to run security for a quiet trading station. She looked like someone who had hoped her days of fighting were over but was upset that they weren't. Guardian. Carter pointed them to a holographic display that showed the station and the space around it. A red marker showed the Krethiks ship getting closer and closer every second. I'm going to be honest. We don't have what it takes. That Hunter class has more firepower than all of our defenses put together. Captain Ellis says though that your Guardian has fought the Krethiks before. So I need to know if we can really stop them. Kathron quickly looked over the tactical display. No. Station defenses can't stop a Hunter-class ship. But if this unit is in the right place, it can delay Krethiks boarding operations and maybe even disable their main weapon systems. How? Carter asked. Kathron said that Krethiks boarding doctrine follows predictable patterns. Energy barriers flickered to life around its hands, showing. Based on structural analysis, they will breach the station hull at 3 main points. Docking Bay 7, Cargo Transfer Station 3, and Maintenance Section 14. This unit can move to the most dangerous spot and fight Krethiks forces head-on. Carter pulled up maps of those places. Our biggest entrance is Docking Bay 7. If they break in there, they'll be able to get to the civilian shelters right away. That's where I need to be, Kathron said without any more words. Hold on, Travis said. You mean you want to face the whole boarding force by yourself? That's a death sentence. Kathron turned to look at him, and its blue optical sensors stayed still and calm. Safety on Ward Prime means staying alive at the station. As a result, this unit's top priority is to keep the station alive. This unit can take some risks as long as Ward Prime and civilians are safe. It's not okay with me, Travis said, getting louder. I'm not going to let you kill yourself. Kathron said, Ward Prime does not have the power to change this unit's tactical assessment. Its tone was almost kind. This unit was made for this job. Fight to protect. This is what Guardians do. Nicole had been quiet while looking at the tactical display. She spoke up now. What if we backed Kthron? The station has drones that can defend themselves, right? We could send them to Docking Bay 7 to help our Guardian out. Carter said, the drones are for maintenance. Not rated for combat. But they can carry cutting torches, welding tools and industrial clamps, Nicole said. Travis and I can change them. Make them useful for slowing down people who are boarding. Travis understood what she was thinking. And if we take power away from systems that aren't needed, we could make the shields around Docking Bay 7 stronger. Make the Krethics focus their efforts there instead of spreading out. Carter thought about this and did some math on her screen. That might work. If we make Docking Bay 7 look like our weakest point, they'll send more troops there. And if your Guardian is waiting for them? Kthron said, this unit can neutralize a lot of Krethics forces in a closed space. With the proposed changes, the chance of a successful defense goes up to 61%. Still not great odds, Carter said, repeating what Ellis had said before. Travis said, better than 47%. And a whole lot better than 12. Let's do it. The next hour flew by in a flurry of frantic planning. Travis and Nicole worked with a group of station engineers to add makeshift weapons to maintenance drones. Welding torches turned into rough plasma cutters. Industrial clamps turned into weapons that could crush things. Arms for loading became battering rams. It was rough, jury-rigged work that needed to be done, but it was something. Kthron spent the time looking over the layout of the docking bay, planning where to set up defenses, figuring out where to shoot from, and where to go if things went wrong. The Guardian worked with such tactical precision that Travis realized how much combat experience was stored in that crystal body. Kthron didn't think this was just a theory. It had fought battles like this before, maybe dozens of times. Travis was alone with Kthron in Docking Bay 7, with only 30 minutes to go before the Krethics arrived. While Travis checked the modified maintenance drones, the Guardian was running final tests on its combat systems. Travis said softly, you don't have to do this. Kthron said, the purpose of this unit is protection. That hasn't changed since the bond was formed. But it's not just about keeping me safe anymore, is it? Travis pointed to the station around them. You could get me out of here right now. Take my ship and go. That would be your main job. But you're staying to protect people you've never met and don't have to. Kthron was quiet for a long time, and its systems were humming. Ward Prime has shown a consistent pattern of putting the well-being of the group ahead of his own safety. This unit has seen Ward Prime put himself in danger several times to protect this unit. Ward Prime sees this unit as a partner, not a tool. That's what you are, Travis said. This unit was set up to think of itself as an expendable asset. Guardian units are there to be used and replaced when needed. But the Ward Prime point of view suggests a different way of looking at things. Kthron's optical sensors got a little dimmer and then brighter. If this unit has value beyond its function, if it deserves protection equal to what it gives, then it is more than just a tool. This unit is one of a kind. Person. As Ward Prime said. Travis's chest felt like it was getting tighter. Yes, you are. Because of this, the unit's decision to stay and defend the station is not just following the protective programming. A person who has learned from Ward Prime that some things are more important than staying alive has made this choice. Travis said with a weak smile, I didn't mean to make you a philosopher. Ward Prime has fundamentally changed the way this unit works, Kthron said. This is not a complaint. This is an observation. The alarms went off all over the station. Carter's voice came over the station-wide intercom. He sounded calm and professional even though things were bad. Krethic's ship coming into range of weapons. All staff members should go to their assigned shelters. Defense teams get into position. This is not a drill. Travis looked out the reinforced observation window of the docking bay. He could see the Krethic's Hunter-class ship in the distance, with stars behind it. It was huge and shaped like a sword that could cut through anything in its way. The weapon ports glowed with charging energy, and he could see smaller shapes coming out of the hull. Boarding boats. Travis said, they're coming, which was not needed. Yes. Ward Prime needs to leave for shelter right away. Not going to happen. Don't forget that we're partners. Partners never leave each other. Having Ward Prime around makes this unit's risk assessment calculations more accurate. This unit will be distracted by the need to keep Ward Prime safe. Then I'll stay out of the way, Travis said. But I'm not going to leave you to deal with this by yourself. You stood in front of plasma fire for me. More than once. At least I can be here to return the favor. Kthron turned all the way around to face him. Travis thought for a moment that the Guardian might argue more. Instead, it reached out with a huge crystal-clear hand. Kathron said, "Partnership acknowledged. This unit is proud to fight with Ward Prime." Travis took the offered hand, which was much bigger than his own. The crystal was cool and smooth, and it hummed with energy that was barely contained. The Krethix ship fired its main guns, and the shields on the station lit up like a small sun as they took the hit. The whole building shook. "Here we go," Travis said in a low voice. The Krethix boarding ships outside the window were speeding toward the station, hitting the exact spots that Kathron had predicted. The biggest group was going straight to Docking Bay 7. Kathron let go of Travis's hand and got into a fighting stance, with energy barriers appearing around its arms. The modified maintenance drones powered up, and their makeshift weapons were ready to go. Kathron said, "For Ward Prime. For Haven's Rest. For everyone who can't fight but needs protection. This unit will stay in this position." The first boarding craft hit the outer airlock of the docking bay with a sound like thunder. The boarding craft broke through the outer airlock like a drill through paper, and the sound of metal ripping echoed through Docking Bay 7. Emergency bulkheads slammed down across secondary entrances, cutting off the bay from the rest of the station. Travis crouched behind a shipping container, his heart pounding so hard he could feel it in his throat. Kathron stood perfectly still in the middle of the bay, with all of his energy barriers up. The Guardian had put itself in the way of the broken airlock and the hallway that led to the civilian shelters. Anything that came through that hole would have to go through Kathron first. The front part of the breach pod blew up, sending sparks and twisted metal flying everywhere. There was silence for one heartbeat. After that, the Krethix warriors came through. Travis had seen pictures of the Krethix before, but nothing could have prepared him for how they really looked. They were huge, at least 8 feet tall, and their bodies were covered in segmented armor that looked like it had grown instead of being made. Their heads looked like bugs and had many eyes that glowed with a sickly green light. They all had weapons that hummed with deadly energy, and from their backs came neural extraction tendrils that moved like living cables. 8 of them made it through the first wave, and they all moved in perfect time. They spread out right away looking for targets with their weapons raised. They stopped for a moment when they saw Kathron standing alone in the middle of the bay. Maybe recognition. Or figuring. After that, they started shooting. Plasma bolts filled the air like a deadly light show, coming at Kathron from all sides. The Guardian's barriers lit up bright blue and absorbed the hits. But Travis could already see cracks forming in the energy shields. 8 people were fighting one person, and they had just started. Kathron got up. The Guardian moved into battle with a grace that seemed impossible for something so big. In 2 huge steps, it closed the gap to the nearest Krethix warrior, and the energy barriers changed from defense to offense. One of the Krethix's crystalline arms swung out, and the Krethix's weapon flew across the bay after being ripped from its grip. A second blow hit the warrior's chest plate, and Travis heard the sound of armor breaking. But the other 7 were already changing their plans and spreading out to attack from different sides. The Krethix fought like a hive mind, with each warrior knowing where the others were and coordinating their attack with terrifying efficiency. Travis had been worried about this. Kathron was very good, but he was up against a group of trained killers who fought together. "Now!" Travis yelled into his phone. The modified maintenance drones turned on and came out of hiding behind cargo containers and support columns. Nicole's voice came through his phone. "Drones are flying. Targets that are interesting." The drones weren't very advanced. They weren't classy. But they were unexpected, and in battle, surprise was important. Industrial clamps closed around a Krethix warrior's leg, keeping it still. A welding torch sprayed superheated plasma across another sensor array, making it temporarily blind. A loading arm swung like a club and hit a third warrior, sending him stumbling back. It wasn't much, but it messed up the Krethix's coordination for a few important seconds. Kathron made a lot of money right away. The Guardian's hands turned into crystal blades that caught the emergency lights in the bay and spread them out in deadly rainbow patterns. It moved through the broken Krethix formation like a dancer, with every strike being exact and purposeful. Not fighting out of anger or rage, but with years of experience in battle. A Krethix warrior got its neural extraction tendril close to Kathron. The writhing cable was reaching for the Guardian's core systems. Kathron caught it in the middle of its attack, and energy crackled between them as the Guardian systems overloaded the tendril's neural interface. The Krethix warrior shook and fell down. But there were more on the way. The second wave of the breach pod came, and 6 more warriors rushed into the bay. Travis could see something bigger behind them. Something that made him shiver. "Hey Kathron," he yelled. "There's a big one coming in." The Harvester-class unit that got through the breach pod was twice as big as the normal warriors and had armor plates thick enough to stop heavy weapons fire. These units were made just to fight Guardian-class defenders. The Krethics had known exactly what they would find here. The Harvester charged, and when it hit Kathron, the whole docking bay shook. Travis was horrified to see his partner being pushed back, leaving deep gouges in the deck plating with his crystalline feet. Kathron said over the comm, "This unit's combat efficiency has dropped to 63%. Its voice sounded strained. "Found an opponent of the Harvester class. Keeping the position between Krethic's forces and the inside of the station is still the top priority for defense." The Harvester hit Kathron's barriers again with huge fists. Cracks spread across the Guardian's crystal body, glowing lines of damage that made Travis's chest tighten with fear. "You need to back off," Travis yelled. "Get back together?" "No. Falling back lets Krethics get into civilian shelters. This unit's position is still strong." More Krethics warriors were coming through the breach now, and the maintenance drones were being destroyed one by one. Travis saw one get ripped apart by neural tendrils and another get crushed by a warrior's armored foot. They had bought some time, but that time was running out. Nicole's voice came through his comm, and it was urgent. "Travis, the shields on the station are failing. The Krethic ship is breaking through our defenses faster than we thought it would. We only have about 5 minutes before they can break into other areas." Travis's mind was racing. 5 minutes. 5 minutes later, the Krethics opened new breaches and flooded the station from all sides. 5 minutes before Kathron's desperate stand became pointless, the enemy just went around them. He looked at the tactical display on his data pad to learn more about the station systems. There had to be something they could use, some benefit they hadn't thought of. He saw the environmental controls for docking Bay 7. An idea came to mind. Careless, risky, maybe suicidal. But it wasn't any worse than what they were already going through. "Kathron, can you live in a hard vacuum for short periods of time?" Travis asked, and he was already opening the environmental system interface. "Yes. The systems in this unit are rated for operations in a void. Ward Prime is not. Make your intent clear." "I'm going to vent the docking bay," Travis said, his fingers flying over the controls. "Send the air into space. The Krethics warriors are made for boarding actions and tight spaces. They won't be ready for a sudden drop in pressure." "No." Travis had never heard Kathron's voice sound so emotional before. "Ward Prime is not ready for vacuum exposure. This will kill Ward Prime." Travis said, "Not if I'm in an emergency suit," and then he grabbed one from the wall locker next to him. The suit was simple and meant to be worn for a short time while repairing the hull. "I have about 3 minutes of air. That's all. 41% of Ward Prime's chances of survival are good. These odds are not acceptable to this unit." The Harvester hit Kathron again, and more cracks appeared on the Guardian's body. A piece of crystal armor fell off, revealing the systems underneath. Kathron tripped, and the Krethics warriors took advantage of the situation by closing in on the Guardian. "We have no choice," Travis yelled as he fought to get into the emergency suit. "They're going to beat you and then everyone dies. At least this gives us a chance." He could see Kathron fighting to hold its ground even though it was getting hurt badly. The Guardian's movements were slower now because systems were failing after being attacked for a long time. But it wouldn't give up even a little bit and wouldn't let the Krethics through. "Ward Prime has always been willing to put his own safety on the line for the good of the group," Kathron said, its voice now full of acceptance. "This unit has learned from the Ward Prime example. This unit will trust Ward Prime's judgment if they think this action is necessary." "Thanks," Travis said softly as he closed his helmet. "Get ready and magnetize to the deck on my mark. 3, 2, 1. Mark." He slammed the controls for the emergency vent. The bay's atmosphere exploded and rushed out through every opening in less than a second, like a hurricane made of air. The Krethics warriors were completely unprepared and were ripped from their feet. Their armor was made for fighting, not for being suddenly exposed to space. Warriors fell through the air, their weapons ripped from their hands and their coordination broken. Even though he was holding on to the cargo container with all his might, Travis felt himself being lifted. The magnetic boots on the emergency suit turned on, but he was already in the air. He hit a support column so hard that he saw stars, then fell toward the open breach pod. A crystal hand grabbed his arm. As ordered, Kathron had magnetized to the deck and held his position against the decompression. The Guardian now had Travis in one hand and was fighting off Krethics warriors with the other. The vacuum didn't slow Kathron down at all. It seemed to move more easily without air resistance, if anything. The Harvester-class unit was the only one that had been able to magnetize to the deck. The other Krethix warriors were either falling helplessly through space or desperately trying to grab onto something before being blown away. They were no longer perfectly coordinated. Instead, they were all in a state of panic. Kathron moved through them in a planned way, still holding on to Travis and taking out each warrior one by one. The Guardian's crystal blades found weak spots in armor, broke weapon systems, and cut neural tendrils. This wasn't the last-ditch effort to defend. This was planned combat efficiency. The Harvester tried to move forward, but it couldn't take advantage of the situation because the other warriors weren't there to help. Kathron's free hand hit it with a burst of energy that made the huge unit slide back across the deck. The alarm on Travis's suit went off. "There are 2 minutes of air left." "Kathron," he said in a breathless voice. "Need a mood." "Understood." Getting rid of final goals. The last Krethix warrior tried to get to its weapon. Kathron's blade put an end to the attempt for good. The Harvester-class unit looked at the situation and made a tactical choice. It let go of its magnetic lock and let the rest of the decompression pull it back toward the breach pod. Kathron didn't follow. The Guardian took Travis right away to the emergency airlock that led to the pressurized parts of the station. They went through the cycle, and when the atmosphere came back, Travis ripped off his helmet and gasped for air. Kathron said in a low voice, "That was 41% likely." Ward Prime risked his own life to save this unit and protect civilians. Travis was able to force a weak laugh out of his body, which was shaking with adrenaline. "Remember that partners look out for each other?" Before Kathron could say anything, Carter's voice came over the station-wide comm. "All defense teams, the Krethix ship is leaving. The enemy is running away again. We can see a lot of ships coming in on long-range scanners. They look like backup?" Travis and Kathron looked at each other. "More troops? From whom?" The Krethix Hunter-class ships stopped attacking with such precision that it seemed like they weren't running away out of fear but out of careful planning. Travis watched the warship make a perfect turn and speed away from Haven's Rest through the command center's observation windows. The engines burned brightly against the darkness of space. "Can someone please tell me what just happened? What's going on?" Carter asked, her eyes glued to the tactical display. "We were 30 seconds away from a hull breach in 3 places and they just left?" Travis limped over to the display. He had taken off his emergency suit, but his body still hurt from being thrown around during the decompression. Kathron was right behind him, and the Guardian's crystal body was cracked and damaged, but it still worked. The cracks made Travis's chest hurt more than his bruised ribs. The long-range scanner showed what had scared the Krethix away. 7 ships coming in fast, with a shape that was unlike anything in the Galactic Authority fleet or any military Travis knew of. They were smaller than the Krethix ship, but they moved with purpose and were in a defensive rather than an aggressive formation. The communications officer said, "Hailing the unknown vessels." A moment later her eyes got bigger. "Captain Carter, you should listen to this." The speakers played a voice that spoke heavily accented human standard, but there was a musical quality to it that made it clear it was from another world. "Hey, Haven's Rest Station, this is the Valkyrie refugee fleet ship Dawn's Hope. We found a Guardian signature in this area and came to look into it. Are there any deaths? Do you need help?" Carter looked at Kathron and then at Travis. "The Valkyrie? Your people?" "This unit's creators," Kathron said. "This unit hasn't been in touch with the Valkyrie people in 273 years. Travis moved forward. "This is Travis Reed. We could use some help for sure. And we have someone here that your people will want to meet." The Valkyrie ships arrived at Haven's Rest over the course of the next 2 hours. What came out were beings that looked almost like crystals, with skin that reflected light in soft, colorful patterns. Travis thought of Kathron when he saw how gracefully they moved. When the first group got to the command center and saw the Guardian standing there, some of them stopped walking altogether. An old Valkyrie with skin that looked like crystals and patterns that Travis thought showed age or rank walked up slowly. Travis couldn't quite figure out what the look on his face meant as he stared at Kathron. Not believing? Oh, sadness? Sentinel designation? The older person asked in a careful way. Kathron. Put on the protective detail for the High Council. 273 standard years before the date of evacuation. Travis saw the elder's hand go to his mouth, and he thought he saw tears forming in his eyes. Blessed ancestors. You made it. You made it through all this time. This unit was put into emergency stasis during the evacuation, Kathron said. Reactivated 6 planetary rotations ago by current Ward Prime, Travis Reed. The older man turned to Travis and all of a sudden, a dozen Valkyrie were looking at him. You fixed a Guardian? And made a connection with it? He saved this unit from being permanently turned off, Kathron said, and there was a protective tone in its voice. And Ward Prime has treated this unit with respect and dignity that it has never seen before in its operational history. The Elder looked back and forth between Travis and Kathron, and his face seemed to show that he was starting to understand. You let it go. Not only fixed the systems but also freed it from the neglect we left it to suffer. He bowed very low to Travis. I am Elder Theron. When the evacuation was ordered, I was a junior council assistant. I remember seeing the Guardians put into stasis and how bad we all felt about leaving them behind. We told ourselves we had to do it and that we had no choice. But whether we wanted to or not, we left those who served us best behind. They didn't have room on the ships, Travis said in a low voice. Kathron told me about it. You had to put civilians first. Theron said, that doesn't make it right, repeating what Travis had said days before. And it doesn't take away what it cost. We thought that all of the Guardians were dead. To find one that still works after all these years. He looked back at Kathron. And to find it connected to someone who sees it as more than just a tool. Maybe the ancestors were nicer than we deserved. Nicole had been quietly working on a portable medical scanner and using it to scan the broken parts of Kathron. This Guardian needs a lot of work. Some of these cracks go all the way down to the core systems. If you don't fix it right, it will fail in a few weeks. We have Guardian restoration experts on our team, Theron said right away. They've kept the knowledge alive, hoping against hope that someday we might get back even one of our lost protectors. They can fix the damage and get everything working again. Travis felt a wave of relief. That's awesome. When are they able to start? They can start right away, but... Theron thought for a moment. For the repairs to happen, Kathron would have to be on one of our ships. The tools and materials that are specific to this job can't be moved. During the restoration process, it would mean being apart from Ward Prime. At least 3 to 4 days. Kathron's optical sensors turned toward Travis. There was a clear conflict in the Guardian systems. This unit can't leave Ward Prime unprotected for that long. The chance of acceptable risk is... Travis cut in, I'll be fine. You need these repairs, Kathron. You got hurt protecting me in this whole station. The least I can do is let you get the right care. Safety in Ward Prime is still the most important thing. I'm safe. We're on a safe station with friendly ships and a grateful people all around us. This is probably the safest place I've been in weeks. Travis reached out and touched Kathron's broken chest plate, feeling the warmth of the systems underneath. Please, let them help you. Remember that partners look out for each other? For a long time, Kathron didn't say anything. Then the Guardian put its own huge hand over Travis's. Trust is necessary for partnership. This unit trusts Ward Prime's judgment. Repairs will be accepted. Nicole was in charge of talking to the Valkyrie engineers about fixing Kathron. Theron took Travis to a quieter part of the command center. The Elder's face changed from one of wonder to one of something more serious. The data core you got back, Theron said in a low voice. We've been keeping an eye on Krethix communications, and they're very upset about something in this area. Something they want to get rid of or get back. That would be the main part, right? Travis nodded. It has broken files about the Krethix, their harvest operations, and what seems to be the coordinates to a master archive. Theron's eyes got bigger. The archive of the sanctuary. We thought it was gone, that the Krethix had found it and destroyed it years ago. Are you saying the coordinates stayed? Buried in broken data, but yes. Kathron thinks that with the right decryption they can be fixed. Then you've done something we thought was impossible, Theron said. The sanctuary archive has all the information we gathered about the Krethix, such as their weaknesses, how they are organized, and how they collect food. Information that could help the Galactic Authority finally put up a good defense against the Dominion. So what should we do now? Travis asked. Theron said, we need to get that data core to the right people. People who will actually use the information instead of putting it away in secret files. The problem is that as soon as we start moving toward those coordinates, the Krethix will find out. They've been keeping a close eye on this area. Next time it won't be a scout ship. There will be a full battle fleet. Travis felt the weight of that on his shoulders. Then we need to be safe. A lot of it. Theron said, we have 7 ships. Not much against a Krethix fleet, but it's all we have. There are also other groups of Valkyrie refugees in this area. If we send out the call and tell them that a Guardian has been found and that we're trying to get to the Sanctuary Archive, they'll come. For hundreds of years, our people have been waiting for a chance to fight back against the Dominion. Captain Ellis joined their talk after listening from a distance. The Galactic Authority will want to be a part of it too. A Guardian who has recovered Valkyrie tactical data, and a Krethix threat that is still alive in Authority space? They will have to answer. Will they help or make things worse? Travis asked in a doubtful way. Ellis made a face. To be honest? Most likely both. But I can call some people I trust from my time in the Navy. Some officers know that the Krethix threat is real and might be willing to put resources into it without waiting for the committee to approve it. For the next 3 days, while Kathron was being fixed on the Valkyrie ship, Travis saw an unlikely group of people come together. Theron's call brought in more Valkyrie ships, bringing the total to 15. Ellis's friends in the Galactic Authority Navy were able to quietly send 2 patrol frigates to the area. Some of the civilian ships at Haven's Rest even offered to help. Their captains were inspired by what the Krethix had tried to do to their home station. Nicole had just left the Valkyrie engineering bay, where she had been helping their experts fix Kathron. She sent Travis updates every day and her excitement grew. Travis, you should see this, she said on one call. The Valkyrie don't just fix things, they also make them better while they work. Kathron will be stronger when he comes back. And the Guardian experts keep crying while they work. They say it's an honor to bring back even one of the protectors they left behind. Kathron came back to Haven's Rest on the 4th day. The Guardian got off the Valkyrie transport, and Travis could hardly believe it. The cracks were gone, and in their place were smooth, clear surfaces that caught the light and scattered it in beautiful patterns. The parts that were broken had been fixed, and Kathron's movement was different in some way. More smooth. More sure of yourself. Ward Prime, Kathron said, and even the sound of its voice was clearer and more present. This unit has been completely fixed. All systems are working at their best. The Valkyrie engineers thank you for letting them serve a Guardian again. Travis couldn't help but grin. You look good. Are you feeling better? This unit's functionality has gone up by about 37%. But the psychological effects are more important than the physical ones. The Valkyrie engineers were very careful and respectful with this unit. They kept saying they were sorry for leaving. They didn't call this unit asset or unit. Instead, they called it honored protector. The optical sensors on Kathron got brighter. This unit is starting to get what Ward Prime meant when he said that people should be valued as people, not tools. Okay, Travis said. Because we need you to be at your best for what's next. He talked about the plan that had come together over the past few days. They would head for the coordinates hidden in the data core in an effort to get to the Sanctuary Archive. The Valkyrie fleet would provide protection, along with the Authority frigates and any civilian ships that were brave enough to offer. If the Krethix sent their full force, it would be dangerous and maybe even suicidal. What's the chance of the mission succeeding? Kathron asked. Travis said, no one wants to give me a solid number. But everyone agrees that we have to give it a shot. That archive could change the course of the war against the Krethix and save billions of lives on many worlds. Then this unit supports the mission objective, Kathron said right away. Ward Prime has shown a consistent pattern of choosing the hard right action over the easy wrong action. Ward Prime's example has taught this unit a lot. Travis looked at his partner, this old warrior who had been alone and abandoned for hundreds of years until a desperate salvage mechanic found it. Hey, when I found you, I was just trying to find something to sell so I could pay my bills. I never thought I'd be in the middle of an interstellar war with an alien guardian who has somehow become my best friend. Kathron said, bonding with Ward Prime has fundamentally changed this unit's operational parameters. Originally, the purpose was to protect through obligation. The current function is to protect by choice. By working together. Through what people might call friendship. The Guardian reached out. This unit is proud to stand with Ward Prime in the next fight. Travis took the hand that was offered to him and felt the smooth crystal warm up in his hand. The honor's mine, partner. 3 days later, 27 ships left Haven's Rest and set sail for coordinates that might lead them to the best chance for humanity to fight the Krethix Dominion. In the middle of that fleet, a small salvage hauler carried a mechanic who had learned that sometimes the most valuable things couldn't be measured in credits, and a guardian who had learned that its worth wasn't defined by those who made it but by the choices it made. The people of Haven's Rest watched them leave, knowing that the strange relationship between Travis Reed and Sentinel Kathron had given them all something they had been missing. Hope. And sometimes hope was the strongest weapon of all. It would be a long and dangerous trip to the Sanctuary Archive. The Krethix would be there. Travis, on the other hand, saw Kathron standing next to him in the cockpit, systems fully restored and ready for anything that came next. He felt ready too. They had begun as a salvager and a salvage, a mechanic and a machine. Now they were friends and partners, and they might be the only ones who could stop an empire that had destroyed 1,000 civilizations. Not bad for a guy who was just trying to pay his bills.